is Traci Young-Byron. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. So my name is Dontera Terrell, and I am the editor-in-chief of the Buckeye Review. I'm super excited to be, sitting here chatting with you today to talk about your career trajectory as well as your new series, Supa Girlz, which recently premiered. So tell me, how does it feel back to be on our screens?
So it's a good feeling to be back on the TV screen. I always said that if I do it again, it had to be right. So I'm just super excited that I'm able to tell this story in a very authentic and raw way. It doesn't feel forced or fake. So that's what was most important to me, that I can do it in a way where people can kind of resonate and relate to me and the dancers, and not in a way that's deemed negative, or, I feel like we have enough of that on television. So I thought it was great that this show, highlights young Black women, but it's a positive show and it's inspiring.
For sure. And you brought up something in terms of negativity. So how do you I guess clear out that outside noise? Like how do
Well,
you
because
just ignore-
so I think I ignore it because I know who I am. You know what I mean? And so when you know who you are and whose you are, a lot of people's opinions don't really matter. I mean, yeah, we're human, so sometimes it can affect you, but I just kind of just tune everything out and just stay focused on what the goal is at hand. That's just the most important thing. And that's also what I teach my dancers too, because they're so seen and popular on social media. And a lot of times, it's hard to be in that space and be able to stay, true to who you are. And I have to tell them, like, listen, you were this person before social media, and you're going to be this person after social media. So don't let the noise distract you.
I was watching the series, and one thing that I did love that you mentioned in terms of speaking about social media, we're in this digital era, which can be good to a certain degree and
Yeah.
bad or challenging, but
Yes.
also what you told your girls was, put in that work. It's not about this instant gratification that they just see this dance routine and you guys are amazing. You're showing the
Yeah.
behind the scenes of it. Like, oh no, we work hard, we play hard. It's not just getting all these likes and views. It's a
Mm-hmm.
lot more into the craft and
Yeah.
establishing your body of work.
Absolutely. I think even for me, sometimes when I post videos on social media, when it gets like a huge response, I'm still not satisfied. So that's why I try to tell them, I don't care what you see on social media. I don't care how many praises you get, until I am at the point where I tell you you're amazing, like this routine was great, then you keep pushing, because I think a lot of times they get caught up in listening to what everybody else is saying, right?
Mhm.
That's not really that important. Yeah, we appreciate the support, but don't get caught up in that. You know what I mean? Like, we're here to be great dancers and true artists. And so don't lose your way just because somebody is giving you praise.
Well, I'm curious in terms of your authenticity and being the fearless woman who you are, who are some of the women who poured into you to shape and mold your being?
So the main person was my mom. I grew up as my mom, she was a single, I was a, she raised me as a single parent, right?
Mhm.
And my mom was so resilient. She dealt with so many health issues, with me growing up as a child and as an adult. And I never saw her complain. She never cried. She just pushed through. And I was like, if she can deal with all of these things, right, and still be positive and laugh and giving of her love and her time, is like, I can't say nothing. Like, I can't complain. I'm like, so just seeing a person fight their whole life and still do it with a smile was enough for me to say, you know what? No matter what life throws at me, no matter how hard it gets, you got to keep pushing. So I think that was the main person in my life that I was just like, I got to keep pushing. And then, of course, there were some dancers who I looked up to. You saw like the Judith Jamison, you saw Debbie Allen. When you saw these Black women in these spaces, it's like, okay, you know what? I got to keep pushing as well for my generation. They're older than me, but I'm like, okay, I want to be that to this generation of people and this generation of dancers. So I think those are the people who helped like push me. And my dance teachers as well. I had like male dance teachers. So, dealing with male dance teachers is a lot different from dealing with female dance teachers. So they were crazy, they were strong. But my very first dance teacher, her name was Miss Nichols. She was so statuesque and tall and just regal. I was like, dang, I want to be like, I'm not like that though, because I'm a little bit more like quirky, but she was just so like elegant all the time. And I was like, oh, and kind of like bourgeois. So I was like, I want to be like that when I grow up. So yeah, these are the people who kind of shaped Traci, who I am today.
And I feel like you've had a great career. I know you attended Florida State, and then you also had the opportunity to do a summer intensive with Alvin Ailey. So when you have the New Yorks, you have the LAs, you have the Chicagos, but why was it important for you to come back to your hometown and build your career?
So for me, I feel like, I tell people all the time that the issue I have with a lot of artists that grow up in Miami and go off to be completely successful is that they don't come back, right? So there's not a lot of people in Miami who have lived the entire life, in terms of like traveling and performing and doing all of the things that come back home and pour into their community. So I want to be that person because there was not a lot of that when I grew up. Most people who are from Miami who are super successful don't stay here. They move to either Atlanta, New York, or LA. Those are the main three places where people go when they want to kind of further their careers and be like, super accepted in Hollywood. So for me, it was very important for these young ladies and young men, because I teach men as well, to see that, yeah, you can be super successful and still do it right here in your backyard. So that's why I was able to kind of like, and I did more than, I don't really talk about the things that I've done in terms of like who I've danced with, but of course I've danced with, Sierra, Missy Elliott. I've done a lot of these things, but it was important for me to like show my dancers, you can do all of this and come back home. Like, it's important. Reciprocity is the thing. That's my favorite word, reciprocity. Pouring back into the community that poured into you.
Mm. Yes, that's a word right there.
Yeah.
Choreographers are storytellers. So
Hmm.
we can tell stories through moving our bodies. How
Yes.
do you inject some of your personal story into each one of your projects that you take on or choreograph dance moves that you teach?
So growing up in the 90s, well, I'm a 70s baby, but growing up in the 80s and 90s, when you were a dark skinned girl, it wasn't considered beautiful, right? So I think that when I choreograph and when I, what's the word I'm looking for? When I encourage my dancers, like when I'm on the sidelines screaming and yelling, it's to pour back into them, it's to affirm them. So my choreographic style is to like, use your whole body and just to embrace who you are as a being. And then when I encourage the young lady, is to let them know no matter what you look like, no matter what shades you are beautiful. Embrace all of your differences. That's what makes you, unique. So I think that my choreographic style mixed with um my style of enthusiasm and how I, embrace the girls, it's just because of the things I've been through as a child. Like I was taunted and teased for being chocolate, you know, and so I could have like, taking that in a negative way, but I flipped it and said, you know what? I can't change how I look. This is who I am. I think that I'm beautiful no matter what you think. And so now, because I have that kind of confidence, I can pour that into other young ladies. And so I also do that with my dance style as well. I'm able to, like, have them, move in certain ways that allow them to feel free and to release.
Mm-hmm. Well, have any of the girls who you currently worked with or have worked with expressed to you that they dealt with some of the, I guess, colorism issues or being teased, um, being a darker shade or anything? And if so, how did you
Absolutely.
handle that? And how did that make you feel?
So I have a dancer right now, actually, who's on the team. She's a super chocolate girl, but she's absolutely beautiful. And for some reason, she doesn't like to step out of the house without makeup, right? So I remember having a heart to heart with her. I was like, why do you wear so much makeup all the time? I get when we have to perform or you want to go out, you want to look nice, but like every day, why is that an important thing for you? And she was like, well, honestly, I just don't feel beautiful without it. And that kind of hurt my feelings. I was like, really? But it really goes into what is being poured into via social media, all of these different platforms. Like, so these kids are different from how it was when I grew up in the 80s and 90s. They really care about what people think about them. So I had to let her know, you are designed by God and he made no mistake. You are absolute, and she is really beautiful for real. I wish I could show you a picture. She is absolutely phenomenal, and beautiful. And so I think I just kept affirming her. And so now she can walk around school without the weave, without the makeup, and there's nothing wrong with that too, right? But you don't need it to feel beautiful, and that's what I'm trying to impart, into all of my dancers. So, but when she first told me that, I was like taken back. I was like, really? Like you're like model beautiful? Like what do you mean? But she couldn't see it, and I because she's really dark skinned.
Wow, that hurt my heart right there.
Yeah.
Just being so young, and
Mhm.
sometimes people aren't able to kind of realize their own beauty. And
Yeah.
sometimes people don't have people like you in their lives to affirm them or pour into them. So
Yeah.
yeah, that hurt my heart too.
Yeah.
Um,
If you get a chance, like when this is over, you go to my Instagram page. Her name is De'Ara.
uh-huh.
Beautiful chocolate girl. You'll see her. She's on this current year's team, and she's beautiful, but she doesn't think so.
Oh, okay. No, we're gonna work on that. I'm based
Yeah.
in Fort Lauderdale, so I feel like
Okay.
I can do a little drive down there. We're gonna work on this.
Yeah.
So, how has
Mhm.
your approach to your work and craftsmanship evolved as you've matured in this field?
Mm, when I first started, well, I'm still tough, right? My work ethic and how, my approach to teaching is still very, very unorthodox compared to most dance teachers. But I think that when I first started, it was a lot more aggressive. I've kind of, tailored and, toned it back a little bit just because I know that every student is different. So I have to tailor my teaching style to match each child's experience and their level of, how they can handle certain things. But I also think it is important for me to do and teach how I do, because this generation to me they're very for lack of for a better word, like soft, or like they're just very, they can't take a lot of things. Their skin is very thin, right? And so I'm just trying to groom them in a way that, yes, I love you and I want you to be great, but you got to understand it's not going to always be easy, right? We already have strikes against us because of what we look like. And we know that it's gotten better, but we still have that fight. So as African American women, we have to be that much better than everybody else. We have to work that much harder than everybody else just to kind of get the same respect as our counterparts. So I do have to teach them and be a little, hard on them just so they can understand that when they leave, you know, they're ready and prepared for everything that's going to be thrown in their direction.
And speaking of lessons, what has been the most important or impactful lesson this industry has taught you yourself?
Hmm. Well, I think one of the most important lessons is just that regardless of, well, for me, um, hmm, no, it doesn't mean no. It's just not right now, right? I've had a lot of no's, but I think those were just lessons. You know what I mean? So delayed is not denial. And so for me, I had to understand that just because it didn't happen when I want it to happen doesn't mean it's not going to happen. And so I had to keep pushing, and I had to learn that, regardless of what, you know, they're telling me, God is telling me it's going to happen. So just stay steadfast, stay resilient, stay focused. It's going to happen for you. And because in my earlier years, I heard a lot of no's before I heard that one yes. And a lot of times it wasn't because of my talent. It was because of my image. I didn't fall into those, you know, um, quintessential images of beauty. So I had to kind of break through and just be strong within myself. So I think it's just the lesson of just learning of loving yourself, being true to who you are, and they'll catch on. I don't have to like conform to who you are. I have to just stay true to who I am, and eventually people will catch on. And that's just really what I did. So although I feel like I should have, honestly, because of my work ethic and my talent and what I bring to the table, sometimes I feel like I should have been able to have certain opportunities, but it just wasn't my time yet. So I had to just wait, and I had to stay true to who I was. Had I like, conformed and changed and kind of given in to what people wanted and expected of Traci, maybe I would have been had a TV show, another TV show, but it's just that wasn't for me.
Listen, you no, so many good things because I feel like I'm just getting to a point in my career, even personally, no doesn't mean no. Like, that's not the end all be all. I got a
Yeah,
hard no yesterday, and I was just like, now usually I wouldn't be as vibrant or as bubbly,
yeah,
or on this interview because I would let that
mhm,
get me down. So,
yeah,
I I felt my emotions, as my therapist say, felt my
yeah,
emotions yesterday, and I'm like, okay, we back. I'm just gonna
absolutely.
go to this other person, and we're gonna keep it moving because you're not
Mm-hmm.
the right person I need to be talking to. So I
That
love that.
part.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to.
hmm
Yeah, I'm listen, I am unapologetically myself. I make no apologies for who I am at all. And it's either people love it or they hate it. But I have to stay true to who I am. Because when I go to sleep at night, I have to love the person. You know what I'm saying? When I wake up and I look in the mirror, I have to love that girl. Hmm.
I feel like it's a lot of people who run from themselves. That's a whole nother conversation.
For another
So,
day. Absolutely.
with wearing so many hats,
Mhm.
and pouring into so many people, when things get difficult for you, what is something that keeps you strong?
Well, I have a great support system. My husband is my number one support system, and I have my sorority sisters who are always, pouring into me. They allow me to feel human. I'm not like I always feel like I'm the strong person for everybody, right? And so sometimes I want to be vulnerable. I want to be able to like put that hat down and just cry if I need to cry, or feel how I need to feel in that moment. And I'm just so grateful that I have people like my husband and my line sisters to say, you know what, Traci, like it's okay, like it's okay, like you're not weak because you have a moment. It's just totally okay. So I'm glad that I have that because sometimes I'll beat myself. I'm like, this is so much. But I'm like, hey, it happens. So I think that being human and allow myself to feel is this is the most important thing for me.
Yes, because it also helps you bounce back and put things
Hmm.
in perspective,
Yeah.
frame of mind.
Yeah. And dance is also my refuge too. So like if I have a moment where I'm just feeling down, I'll go to the studio by myself and just play music and just dance. I always go back to my why. Okay, when I'm frustrated, why am I doing this? When I don't feel like doing, why am I doing this? So I just go to the studio, play some music, and I'll dance around or get on my skates and skate. Music is my therapy. So I'll between music and dance and just movement, I can
Mhm.
always just kind of decompress in that way as well.
And part of being a dancer, you have to be comfortable with your body. So, what would
Hmm.
you say is the best way to fall in love with your own body?
I think that if you just embrace your flaws and then, just I mean, look at yourself in the mirror, like take everything off and just stare at it. You know what I mean? Like whether it's something that you want to fix, whether it's something that you love, like, I've never really had that much of an issue um embracing my body. I mean, when I was young, I had to embrace my complexion, but I never
Mhm.
really had issues with my body. But I think it's because I just love who I am now. Like I just love all of me. I don't care if it's a stretch mark. I don't care if something is hanging on this side. Like you just have to just know who you are and love it and know that God made you and made us all differently. You know what I mean? And just embrace it, honestly.
True.
That's the best advice I can give. Like you just gotta just look at it and say, okay, girl, like today I'm a little bloated. This is gonna be, and then just move on with it, because we're all beautiful in our own way. We all bring something different to the table.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And what do you hope to capture in the minds of audiences whenever they see or hear a Traci Young-Byron execution?
I hope that when people watch the show, they can see that I'm a very passionate and
Mhm.
strong woman, a woman who believes in, what she believes in, a woman that will pour into children by any means necessary, a woman who loves community, a woman who loves to give back to those who gave to her, a woman who um at every turn will just give the shirt off her back for her students. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it's not easy. Yes, I don't give the same approach as other people, but I am still a loving and passionate person. And I think that's the most important thing that I want people to understand when they see the show. And also if they see this when they see the show, that the girls are more than just a viral moment. They are really intellectual young ladies. The requirements that they have to be on this team is through the roof. You know what I mean? Like it's not bottom of the barrel kind of people. These girls have to have at least a 3.0. Most of my girls have 4.0s, 4.9s. Like they are intelligent young women. And people don't see that. All they see is just them, being able to break it down. But they are articulate and intelligent young women who come from the hood.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize the requirements. I love that. Thank you for
Absolutely.
sharing that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, my
And I
young ladies are in AP classes. They are in dual enrollment. Like these girls graduate from high school already are in sophomore status for college. Like they're smart young ladies.
I love it. Beauty
Yeah.
and and talent. And I also love how, you're instilling so much more, in the minds and spirit as well, not just the physical, which is also good, but in the minds, the spirit, like you said, the intellect, even the
Yeah,
emotional intelligence, with
absolutely.
so that all just
Hmm.
goes into helping and shaping and mentoring these ladies as they continue to grow and evolve into adulthood and be these
Yes.
amazing women. So
Yes. Absolutely.
well, thank you so much. This was a real treat. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it.